DBS community, welcome back to another video here with Kyle Chris, and today we're going to be going over the state of the meta for black going into Ultimate Squad. So make sure you guys like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Let me know what you guys think of the set. What do you guys think is going to be the best black deck going into the format? If any at all, leave those comments down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. So we're going to go right here into the field and kind of go over what we're looking at for black as a color. Biggest thing is that Gogeta Xeno is gone, and that is kind of been most of black. I would say about 75 to 80% of most black decks and most regionals. Participation wise, it's probably been Gogeta Xeno, right? And with this deck gone, there's a huge void now in what black deck is going to take over. A lot of people think Hatchiac will be it. A lot of people don't think black's going to be playable at all. And personally, I think a lot of those people are wrong. I think they either haven't played enough these black decks, haven't put enough energy into them, or they just really don't understand what they're talking about, which does happen quite a bit, obviously, in the any card game community, not just Dragon Ball. So Hatchiac is kind of the gatekeeper right now, and going into the meta, Hatchiac generally doesn't do as well in the control formats. Because blue is generally very heavy, and blue is a pure counter to this deck in most facets. Invoker probably has a little bit of an advantage against Hatchiac. But anything that runs Android 17, just blue decks in general just make it very difficult for Hatchiac to do things, and when Hatchiac can't play big battle cards, it just kind of falls behind. Also, it has a very bad cell matchup, which is kind of going to be a big rogue deck going into next format. Another deck that does have some playability in the format is going to be Mechabora. You guys know how I feel about that deck, and I'll show you guys the deck list actually that I was going to be running for Origins. I don't think I'm playing Mechabora now, so that's why I'll kind of share the list that I was going to play. And then up and coming is going to be God Toa. I think Toa is going to be a very good black deck. We'll jump into that a little bit once we get into her section of the video. So, going over some of the rogue decks that we may see in the format, and there's a lot, because Gogeta had such a stranglehold on black, and everybody feeling like they need to include four Beyond All Limits and 4 Thwarting in every black deck that they played. We can now transition back into some other black strategies, and realistically, yes, Thwarting is an amazing card, right? It does a lot for 1 energy. However, there's a lot of other black strategies that are very good, and they're not thwarting level, but they are very good, and I think people just don't want to, acknowledge that for some reason. So like Finn is a very powerful deck. It runs a similar engine to like finisher wise of what Toa will be running, but Finn has some of the best just board control out there. Has a board wipe through barrier. The leader itself can just pick off any battle card and can gain any keyword skill. It's a very powerful effect that I think people kind of overlook. Same thing with Sin Xeno. Sin Xeno is probably, in my opinion, well, for one, it's the best mill deck in the game. That's not a question. We don't need to argue about it. It's the best mill deck in the game. Second thing is the deck itself has good matchups across the board except for yellow, right? And with yellows not being very popular still in the format, at least the yellow that counters Sin has a very good chance of just being a very powerful deck. Of course, people aren't going to play it a lot. There's like 8 of us that play it in the entire community, so it's not going to see a lot of play. But I have a feeling this may be the format where this deck actually will end up topping multiple events. Super Saiyan God Trunks is a very powerful deck. Obviously, not as good as Gogeta, but the engine itself is very powerful. You can play the 5-drop Trunks just from the warp. You have your double strike Trunks. The Unison's very hard to kill. You still can play 8-drop Gogeta. You still have 1 thwarting. Like, the deck is still positioned in a very good spot, just not as good because of the thwarting limitation. However, this was always going to be a mid-range deck, and now we're going into that mid-range format. Trunks, I think, is going to see a lot of playability. Majin Buu AOD. I actually completely forgot that this leader was a black leader. It's my fault. I, for some reason, thought it was a green leader. But Majin Buu AOD is probably the premier aggro deck now in the format, and that's I mean, the deck itself had good matchups against King Piccolo, had decent matchups against U7, but now it's put into a position where you run into this round one, and if you're not prepared for it, it's going to clap you, especially in these best of one formats. If you're not ready for AOD, you're just going to get demolished. And I do have a deck list for that we're going to share here on the video. Demon God, Deborah, and Super Saiyan 4 Goku are just kind of other forms of potential aggro decks that you can play in black. What's nice about Goku is that it is a double strike inherent leader. And Deborah itself, as long as you don't brick turn one finding a unison, the deck can actually pop off incredibly well using cards like King Summon and going into the Deborah and the Toa Chain, and becomes very powerful, and you are kind of gaining a little bit of advantage with that as well. So Hatchiac, it's just kind of a standard Hatchiac list. There's different versions of this particular list. Well, probably the best part about Hatchiac is the fact that Hatchiac has some of the best tech tools to deal with blue, to deal with green, to deal with yellow. It has all these tech tools you can put in the side deck. Makes the deck very, very good. The problem with the deck is that it is very boring. From someone who's played a plethora of Hatchiac, it is a very boring deck, and especially if you're playing at a big event, it becomes very, very draining. If you're not careful, it actually kind of takes a toll on you more so than your opponent. So it's just kind of a thing you have to kind of worry about playing Hatchiac. AOD, this is one of many different lists you can play. This is kind of focused on the offering build, playing the free play Janempa. You have your offering Janempa. You have the combo attack to bounce them back, as well as being able to play the 5-drop Super Baby 2. Which also has offering and dual attack, and I think it blinks your entire opponent's board, ignoring barrier. But this is just one version of the deck. It's crazy to think this deck has 3 playable TPs. That's crazy to think about. It has Bojack, it has 2 different Baby Janempas. That is wild to me. This deck has 3 playable TPs, and potentially could have more in the future, right? This deck's just going to keep getting better and better. And if they ever decide to release another Agent of Destruction card, which God forbid they probably will, it's gonna be very good. It's gonna be a very, very good deck. The problem with the deck right now, I think it lacks, because it is an aggro deck. There is no really turning it into a mid-range deck. You can do like some small things, but it is mainly a aggro deck through and through. The hit to fighting its fates hurts a lot, but the ban to secret ID helps this deck a lot, because now it's not as easy to clear their board. And the Mechabora, I built this Mechabora deck as a black U7 deck, essentially. That's kind of the idea of the deck. So you have 1-drop cantrips, you have 1-drop battle cards that all do different effects when you play them. You have a 3-drop unison. You have a lot of power in this deck. A lot of power. You have a 4-drop board wipe. You have an incredibly powerful secret rare. You have floodgates. You have a lot in this deck, and it's a very powerful deck. Don't get me wrong. It's to be very interesting to see what if anyone ends up running a Mechabora list in here. Some cool things in this deck that I found it to be very interesting. One is the Super Mirror idea, where with the Super Mirror Unison, has an effect of you can choose one of your skills battle cards and remove it from the game, draw a card, and warp a battle card on your opponent's board. Mechabora has the ability to steal a 4 or less in blanket skills for the game, essentially, and then you gain control over it, so essentially making it a skillless battle card. So you have the ability to steal an opponent's battle card, swing with it, play Mira, +1, warp banish that card from the game, and then draw a card. So it doesn't even go back to your opponent's drop area. It's hilarious. It's a very, very cool effect. Thankfully, it's only for 4 or less, but you can play. I mean, there's some other cards you can play to actually steal stuff, so it's plausible to do that. But it is a very powerful deck. I think people just kind of overlook it. I mean, it's set up to do very well in this next meta. That's all I gotta say, man. It is a very, very good deck. I think people are just overlooking it a little bit. Who knows? Maybe I'll take it to one of the other events. We'll see. But this is definitely a powerhouse in black, in my opinion here. And then we have the potential and arguably the best black deck going into next set is Demon God Toa. I think this leader is incredible. For one, this leader just does so much on the Awakened side, right? You're playing out skillless battle cards when you attack. You can pitch a card from your hand that has drop area effects to then play out 2 tokens in rest mode. You can give your Unison 10k and double strike for 1 energy. You got a lot. And this allows you to kind of use your Unison as your game finisher, which is kind of what we want all in all, right? So the list here, I'm not going to go over it too much because it's very similar to the list that I put out in the Toa deck breakdown video. So you guys want to pause, you guys can check out the list here. It's probably posted on DBS Planet as well somewhere. But this list is pretty flushed out. Some minor changes and then obviously some sideboard stuff as well. But I think this list is going to surprise a lot of people during regional season. And now we get to some cards you should definitely pick up. Obviously, Super Mirror is going to be one of those. Probably it is the Chase Black card right now going into the next set. This Unison is just bonkers, and the art's amazing as well. The second card is going to be Lightning Sentence, and this is a very interesting card. The top effect, where you can play out a Demon Realm token, that's whatever. But the bottom effect is, I think, is where this card kind of shines. So for 1 energy, you remove a skillless battle card from the game. You choose up to 1 of your battle cards, and it gives 10k for the battle. And then if you removed a token from the game with a skill, you draw a card. So you choose 1 of your tokens, and you use this, and it's just a 10k combo that draws you a card, kind of like a pseudo combo, like a dependable Super Saiyan Son Goku thing, right? Just a very cool card. Doesn't work for leaders, unfortunately, which is kind of the problem. But I do think this card has some interesting implications, as well as the token card that has an activate battle where you play out tokens in rest mode. I think both of those cards have some very interesting tech options. We just said once we get at the actual cards, we can kind of visit those a little bit. So, and then some cards you should pick up from the old sets. These are some very interesting cards here. Toa Space Time Unleashed. Search top 7 for a Mira or a Masked Saiyan card. So any Mira card that gets printed that has the Mira tag, you can search it out. So you can search out Creator Absorb, you can search out the promo, any of the other Miras, as well as Masked Saiyan. You can search out BMS. But anytime that they print a Masked Saiyan card with a Masked Saiyan tag, this card will actually search them out. It's from set 3, but pick them up. It's just a very powerful card, a very good, just generically good searcher. In decks like Finn and Toa right now, you can just play these and have a good little searcher on you. Demigra, this is another card that can be played in Toa. You burst 2 for 2 energy, you take up to 1 or 2 life, and then you play Poutine and a Gravy from your deck or your warp. Very powerful effect. There's no energy requirement on the Poutine and the Gravy, so if they ever print any very, very ridiculous powerful Gravy or Poutine cards, you can just play them off of this. Also, this allows you to play out some crazy defense. There's a Poutine and a Gravy that you can play out that gives you a very good defensive wall for 2 energy. And that's something, also, it helps you kind of fill your drop area as well for your Overwhelm tech. And then we have Dende, new to the job. This is a 1-drop deflect that draws you a card, and then for 2 energy, place this card in the owner's drop area, or place this card in the drop area. If your opponent placed an energy in their a card in their energy using a skill during the game, choose up to 1 of your opponent's energy and place it in the drop area. This is for Gamma. This is a straight tech counter for Gamma. So essentially, Gamma, their leader effect that allows them to pick up energy and then put it back down. Even if it's the same card, they're still doing the effects, and this card becomes live for the rest of the game. So every time they put a cell, they put a 4-drop, they put a counter play in their energy, you can play this and snipe it, essentially, for 3 energy. It puts them behind an energy, as well as taking away one of their win conditions. And if they don't have 3 androids in their energy at the end of their turn, they can't use their effect, which means, which basically means that if they, if they may have, they weren't expecting you to, to run this card, hitting them with one of these can really put a dent in their plan, probably put them behind the turn, if not, 2 turns. So this is just some interesting tech cards for you guys to look at. But thank you guys again, as always, for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next one.